welcome again to Postcard. And if you notice, we've got rather a long title that describes that we're gentlemen. I question that, but we do rant. So there we are, and he's back in his attic, and in lovely Poprad. Listen, that is the centre of a, as they say in Switzerland, a canton, or is it just a secondary city?
I've no idea what you mean.
Well, in some of your neighbours, not quite your neighbours, Switzerland, they have cantons, which are like counties, don't they? And they all have their little capitals. So where's Poprad the capital of?
Poprad is in the Spitz region of Slovakia,
right,
which is basically in the right ventricle of the country. And it's a, I don't know what they call it here, really. It's not a principality, because we don't have a prince here. It's not a municipal, but we have a municipal swimming baths. So it's just a city. It's a tourist city. It was actually condemned in 1989 by a travel book who said, Poprad is not a place you want to linger. Very poetic, yes. But condemnatory. And actually, to be honest, one reason I ended up here is because I wrote part of the Brat's Guide to Slovakia. And it was through that, it was deemed that I had to come across here to find out what was going on. And I basically never left. They wouldn't let me out again, yeah.
Lock him up. He's the only person that's ever spoken good about us. Yeah, that figure's right.
No, they did threaten to ban me from the country, though.
Why?
Very quick story. I wrote an article. I'm not naming the man in it because I don't want to name him, because I don't really want to name him anymore. But I wrote, he's a very rich man. He'd opened this big chain of hotels. And I wrote in the... in an article, which it was in the, I think it was, it was City Lights, mate. It went in City Lights magazine. And I described him moving with a bovine elegance. Now, he was so pleased with this article that he got his staff to translate it into Slovak. Now, I assume they must have just done a Google translation. And there is no word in Slovak for bovine, really. So they just chose a farmyard word. So they chose pig. This is all true. This is absolutely true. So the article then said this bloke moved like a fat pig, and from being bovine elegance. It also, somehow, they managed to get it all mixed up, and instead of it being this very rich businessman, it became the president. So my article then said, the president moved like a big fat pig. And the man in question who it was originally written about was so pleased with the article, never read it again, sent it to the president and all the MPs in Slovakia. And so we all got this thing saying, the president moved like a big fat pig. And we both got banned from the country until we wrote an abject letter of apology.
Oh my goodness me! You cause havoc wherever you go. Listen, now we're going to talk about havoc today, and I'm going to ask you a straight question, and I want a straight answer. That being the following: have you invested in Portaloos? It's the new thing. I can honestly say this without a disclaimer. Never mind the gold, which we tell you from time to time to invest in, and say disclaimer. This is not, you buy Portaloos, you're made. Why? Because we both know they're going to go on the M2 anywhere near Dover, and they are making a fortune. And the man that's got all the Portaloos, have you ever been in a Portaloo, Leigh?
I have. I actually met, I've met many famous people in Portaloos, you know.
Well, yes.
not in the sit down, in the stand-up ones. And that probably made it worse, actually. But they're horrible, horrendous. Because I used to do a lot of music, outdoor music events. And they're just terrible. They're just terrible.
They are. Well, as you know, we've been on the Isle of Wight for a long, long time, and it's Festival Island. All the festivals come round. It's not just the Isle of Wight Festival. Festivals start on the island in, well, March, actually. Early March, go on till the end of October and sometimes into the beginning of November. So we're out filming all the time. So we are quite used to them. As an emergency, my goodness me, there's not many that's fit for human habitation, one has to say. But we were driven eventually, literally, to get a big camper for the crew. And we just rolled up in the camper and used our own inside because it was dreadful. Now, these people that go to the big festivals that are full of mud and the only way they can change is in a portaloo or do anything else, I mean, it's not good. Hygienically, my goodness me, horrendous.
Yeah, exactly. It just is. Just as in Paris a few years ago, not many, maybe 5 years ago, we were walking down, I think it was the Champs-Elysees, well, that'll do anyway. And there was one of the newfangled portaloos, you know, those that just stand up in the middle of the streets. And it was just so funny. And this, again, is an absolutely true story where we're walking past it. We'd never really seen one before, but it's one of those where the doors swing round and you go in and it goes like that. And then you finish and it goes like that, and you go out and you hear it go, boosh. Well, we heard it go, boosh. And we all of a sudden heard this knocking on the door. There's somebody in it.
Oh, nice. Yes, that's all right.
Anyway, happy Christmas. And now that's a whiskey for you.
And to our viewer, we say happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas. It's actually ginger ale.
Oh my goodness me!
It looks impressive.
Yes, this is conversion. Well, talking about portaloos, there's a posh one in Gibraltar that I must say to people. It's by the walls there on the north side, and that is one of the ones that opens the doors. But my goodness me, are people caught short, literally from time to time, because the doors open on their own before you have finished. Oh! And they charge you 50p for the privilege of that. Now, of course,
you need to spend a penny.
Absolutely, and you get arrested anywhere else, but they're so used to these doors opening.
Yeah, I know. Well, here's just my last one anyway. We could go on all night like this. The funniest thing that ever happened to me, you know how men undress as they reach, or begin to undress as they reach the door of the gentleman's ablution area?
I don't know what he's talking about, but go on, explain.
Yeah. Just what men do. If you're in a pub or in a bar, as you reach the gentleman's ablutioning area, it's time to unzip and get ready for the natural process. And so you push the door open and you go in. I was in a pub, it was a pub in Stockport, and I was in one room. And as I went through to the other room, there was a little sign that big on the door that said toilet. So I did the undressing process and walked into the lounge with myself undressed, ready to go.
Was anybody filming this, Leigh?
No, nobody noticed.
I'm tempted, but I'm going to move on very quickly.
Yes, we're talking about Dover.
We're talking about Dover.
That's where we started.
Yes, the traffic jams and everything that's gone with them. Now, as we keep saying, doesn't COVID bring to the surface those things, perhaps, which we don't want bringing to the surface? But I mean, Mr. Macron has shown himself for what he truly is. Yeah, even though the rest of Europe, and they're not easy to deal with, except Hungary and Poland, I might add. But the rest of Europe are not easy at times. Sometimes the Germans are, one has to say. But they have shown themselves up. The Brussels Council, let's call them, said, as it were, let them in now. 3 days passed and Mr. Macron said, forget it. let them suffer in their cabs. And they did. So what is Macron all about? But I'll tell you something worse than that. Sorry, my Irish friends, I have many. I think you're wonderful, but your government doesn't get it right on so many occasions. They've banned the Brits until the 31st of December. That is naughty. The north-south divide is still truly there. It's very difficult to live in the north of Ireland, on the island of Ireland, and you can see why. That is not only they're bringing back the old troubles just to have a go.
I believe implicitly that this situation has become a political football. And there's one simple, straightforward explanation. While everybody on social media with their incredibly intelligent brains and their massive in understanding of politics and the ways of the world and the way they know everything about COVID beyond everybody else, have been condemning Boris for what's happened at Dover yet again, there is a simple explanation. Let me just give you a bit of background to it. I had to go, as you know, to go across to Britain to do filming for a major organisation. I can't name this at the moment for various reasons. To do 3 days filming in the UK. Now, what happened was this. And now I was exempt. I got a letter off the British Film Institute explaining to everybody and his dog why I was exempt from various restrictions. Well, let's just go through it. I had to go to Britain. I flew in. I was checked for all sorts of, checked with the thermostats and things. Thermometers, not thermostats.
Heat gun, the heat gun.
Yeah, the heat gun.
Is he alive? Oh, well, he's close to being alive.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Yeah, the thing is, a word of warning, though, if you've got glasses on, because I was having, because I was being a film star, I had my dark glasses on and my mask. So every time they put the gun on my head, I breathe out, the heat would shoot up and hit the gun. And so every time they took it 10 times. I got COVID until they did it on my wrist. And they said, no, you're all right. I said, no. Yeah, now that really is a warning for people. Yeah, the heat comes up, your mask and hits the gun.
Yes. Oh, my goodness me.
Yeah, but anyway, so we made it into Britain. I had to isolate in the hotel. It was absolutely appalling. And I will name the hotel because I'll never stay there again. I've extolled the virtues of the Jury's Hotel in Manchester on many, many occasions, who charged for the room but wouldn't feed you, didn't have room service. But they did have room service, but they didn't have room service if you wanted it. Delivered a bit of a breakfast to your door in the morning, left it outside from 7 in the morning, then forgot to deliver it, and then charged me £6.50 for 2 half-litre bottles of water. Thank you very much, Juries. Yeah, we will not be staying with you again. But then we did the filming. We had to have a COVID test, and this is the crux of it. We had to have a COVID test before we could actually go filming. Every member of the crew. Now, I don't think Boris paid for those tests, do you? I think the film company paid for those tests. And all these people who are standing at Dover, as far as I'm concerned, all they had to do last week, the week before that, was have a COVID test. Now, I'm not blaming the wagon drivers. I'm blaming the companies who wouldn't pay whatever it cost. I think it's 150 quid now. And they could have taken the goods across and they could have come back. And then they could have had another test and done it again. And that's in the cost. And you know what, Hawleyers? You can claim it back on your tax. So grow up.
Well, yeah, it's the point of view, Leigh, but I still am going to come down on hard on Mr. Macron. He's got his election.
Oh, yeah, sorry, it wasn't denying Macron's involvement.
No. He's got his election next year. And as we keep saying, it's all about politics. Now, as we both know, Uncle Boris is blamed for not getting it right. That's fair comment because he's got so much of it wrong along the way. But caveat here again, Don't forget all the other leaders, with very few exceptions, have got
They've all got it wrong.
But because they don't fully understand what they're fighting. This is a devious, horrible germ, and more evidence, one has to say, is coming out that it is not an acceptable, normal occurrence every 100 years. It has been grown in a factory and it has escaped. Now, the fullness of that truth, inverted commas, will come out in due course, but there is a lot of evidence. One thing one has to mention at this stage is the masks. A lot on the internet about the masks. Don't wear them, wear them. Do you wear masks where you are?
I do all the time, yeah. I hate them, don't like it. It hides my eternal beauty. But it's not something that I enjoy. But yeah, I do it. And when I was driving into the Tier 4 area in London, I still saw people there not wearing them. I saw people at the airport not wearing them, or wearing them under the nose like that.
Yeah.
And you know, people are saying today, yet again, on the wonderfully fabulous, honest, straightforward internet, that masks don't save your life. They don't save people. Don't wear a mask. Well, you know what? I'd grow up there as well and just say, well, let's see what's going on. I'll wear a mask to see if actually I do survive. Let's do everything we can to survive. Wear your mask.
Yes, if it's only 2 or 3%, I'm just plucking figures out of the air.
Yeah.
It helps. It helps, and you achieve, hopefully. But I tell you what, Leigh, we're on a long road here. It's all right saying vaccines are going to cure, and even with the variated new latest. Well, we've got up to 70% increase if you catching the thing. It looks as though the vaccines from all intelligence will still cope with that one. But literally has been handed to me today a note from Portugal. We're in Spain at the moment, saying that 50% of the nation, 50, don't want the vaccine because they've been watching social media. Now, if it's that, you know, is it worth doing? Because you're not going to get any effect, herd immunity at 50%. It's touch and go. So, you know, what is happening? People, unfortunately, are not regarding mainstream media with the same reverence as the alternative.
We touch on this every week, and I think it's such a valid and important point to make. But, you know, like you mentioned before about COVID perhaps being a factory-made drug. A factory-made bug, saying bug and drug. And I want to take that to task. There is no proof that it was made in a factory. There is a lot of stuff on the internet about it. But the evidence against it being factory-made is the fact that we've had COVID for over 20 years. COVID's been in existence. It's not a brand new bug. It's just a variant. Now, yeah, a factory in Wuhan or in Russia or in any of the other suspect countries could have created it from that existing bug, I suppose. But at the moment, there is no evidence to prove that it's man-made.
Well, the coronavirus, as you quite rightly say, has been going for years. And of course, there was this big scam at the beginning of it 12 months ago because of the bottle of Dettol said effective against coronavirus. Oh, how did they know? Well, it's a normal germ and they just put it on there. COVID-19 is new and it's a bit special. So we'll agree to disagree on that. I'm going to wait the true outcome. We've seen a lot of evidence that's coming up saying this has escaped from a lab. But we wait and see.
He could have done it, but why were they creating it? Was it germ warfare? What else would you be creating it for? Were they working on on a cure for COVID and for coronavirus? Why were they creating it? There are all these questions that do need asking. But it's the scariness of the internet is like today. I took the people to task on it. They said that it was Boris's fault that you couldn't get that the wagon drivers couldn't get across to France. Another friend of mine who actually was a daily newspaper editor had the temerity to put this on the internet, and I took him to task. And funny how people, when you take them to task, go away, don't return, have nothing to say. But he said that, and this is a good journalist, I actually trained him, so he's brilliant. He said that panic buying in supermarkets was a direct result of media coverage, that the media shouldn't cover it because it means that people go out and panic buy. And I'm sitting there, I won't name him because it's, I won't name you, Rob. And he, and I just said to him, I said, well, what came first then? Did the media make up panic buying and then everybody went out and did it? Or did the panic buying happen and then the media covered it? And if the media covered it, isn't it our job to tell everybody in the world exactly what's going on? And yeah, Macron, I don't know how I got back here, but I've got back to Macron, is a mackerel in the political world of Europe and acts like it. He is the man that believes that all our fish, all the fish off our shores belongs to them, to him. And yet he believes that all the poor people who are adrift in the sea belong to us. Yeah, another one. Grow up.
Well, yes, we'll move on from Monsignor, that's gone to Italy now, Macron, and we will cover various things on the way into ever decreasing circles because it's Christmas time, of course, and it's a Christmas with a difference. The difference being that we're not going to be seeing our lovely loved ones, and we've got to be content with Zoom, etc. But thank goodness we've got that, because it would have been a really sad Christmas without it. Now, that's come from China. All right, the Chinese guy that invented it had to go to America, to Silicon Valley, to develop his talent there. But everything that is bad does not come from China. Only 90%, and I'll tell you why I say that.
Yeah,
they've been naughty, Leigh. They have been very naughty.
Who else? The Chinese?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the way they've treated the Muslims and literally frog marching them into camps to retrain them. Now they've set about the Christians. They've always set about the Christians, but now particularly they're having a real go. Basically, they've rewritten the Bible because they don't like a lot of things in it. So they've written a Chinese Bible that everybody's now got to believe in. So, of course, the Chinese Christian underground church has gone back to being really underground. And a lot of persecution going on at the moment. And talking about persecution, we'll quickly flip across the pond. I said last week, and it's been confirmed to me, that shortly something's going to happen with the Trump man who's practically done a Biden and gone into hiding. So watch the space. Something is going to happen there, because I've seen various dodgy documents that you cannot get into court in time for the 20th of January, which is when the handover is. But if it doesn't come out, or any part of it doesn't come out by then, I tell you what, it's going to come out afterwards. And a lot of people are really mad in America. I mean, mad, angry.
I think mad's all right. What has happened to Mr. Trump? President Trump. Really, what has happened to him? When you think what he's done, he had a big, nobody can deny it, whether you love him or hate him, he had a big tantrum when he lost the election. There's no doubt he's lost the election. That's what's happened. And we have a new president going in. That's Mr. Stumbling Beeden. And the president at the moment, he had a tantrum. Then he went to play golf and wouldn't talk to anybody. Then he went on social media to sell everybody out and wind everybody up, just like a teenager. When you think you've had children, when you upset your sons, or I upset my daughters and other children have got, what happens? They'd have a tantrum. They'd go on the internet and start saying, "I hate my dad. He's done everything." Like that. And that's what President Trump did. Then what do? You go to all your friends, don't you? Say, "I love you. I'll make sure. Don't you? I won't tell anybody what you've done." So then he freed a lot of potential criminals and pardoned them. A lot of really people who've been investigated. Then he went round and played some more golf. He never discussed the COVID crisis, apart from to say, "I invented that vaccine." No, you didn't, Mr. Trump, Mr. President Trump. No, you didn't. And he's done nothing but play golf and have a tantrum and sulk and look miserable and blame everybody else. Well, I would say, because it's the theme of the show from my side today, grow up.
Well, there you go. He's at it again. Now, after your trip back to Blighty, and after the column that Peter Hitchens wrote in last weekend's Mail Online, Britain is dead. There's no hope. Is that true?
I went back to Manchester I was excited about doing the film. I thought the film was worthwhile in so many ways. It was a professional, very, very big organisation. I can't say who it's for. It will be, I'll announce the date it's being put out. And I went back to Britain with two hopes. One, that I could get a meat and potato pie, and two, that I could get by John Willie Lee's. When I hit Manchester, it was dead. It was just like the city in The Walking Dead. There were a few people walking around, none wearing masks, actually. The pubs were shut, the bars were shut, the restaurants were shut. The only thing in the heart of Manchester I could find where I could get any kind of sustenance was a supermarket, 24-hour, and right opposite a McDonald's. The rest was shut. The people were miserable, and the people. Here's a point I want to make, because I think this is really important, and it's another grow up Britain situation. When I arrived at Luton Airport, and then I had a 200-mile drive after that to get to Manchester. When I arrived at Luton Airport, I have never seen such insidious racism against the Slovak nation, because I was on the Slovak plane from Slovakia, so they had to be Slovak, from the staff at Luton Airport. They should be ashamed of themselves, and there should be an investigation. They were shouting. I mean, do you remember in the 70s when we first went to Spain and we thought we could get our own language, make Spaniards understand us by shouting at them? Yeah, and that was the way to make people understand. Shout. And they were shouting at the Slovaks. They were saying, "Get over there, get out of the way." And that was the staff. And as soon as I said in my English voice, Mancunian, I just said, "Can I take this through, mate?" And wag this bottle of hand stuff. He says, "Yeah, mate, put it in that bag. Get out of the way, get out of the way." Like that, put your bag on there. And I just thought, this is disgusting. When I then had to drive, and I'm going to go on about national car parks very quickly. National car parks in Manchester, they know who they are, and I am going for compensation for this. I'm not sure I'm going to get compensation for, but I'm going to have a go. They stranded me in their car park for just under an hour because they said my card wouldn't pay. Was invalid. They said the reason it was invalid was because my parking fee for 3 nights was £65, right? £65. And my card wouldn't, they couldn't accept a credit card payment or a card payment for that amount. So it's all right. I've got the money in my pocket. Come down, I'll give you the money. Oh, we can't accept money. What do you mean you can't accept money? You won't accept my card because you've got a rule that says you can't accept over whatever it was, 60 quid. You won't accept money. And so you've left me stranded here for an hour. I spoke to 5 of their operatives and each one said they would ring me back and help me out. None of them did. By that point, I'd only got just over 3 hours to get from Manchester to Luton to get to the airport. And I was on the point of driving through the barrier when I got Andrea to phone them up and pay it. And do you know what the mistake was? That National Car Parks had made? The fee wasn't £65 at all. It was 50 quid. So they could have accepted the card. Not a thank you, not a sorry, nothing. That was disgusting. And I will expose them on the Preservation Society and everything. Next one, when we went through Luton Airport, said it was closed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That was a pack of lies. They were open until 2:30 in the next morning. That was just a pack of lies. Enterprise Car Hire, usually very good, said that their office wasn't open. It was open. What a lie. What a stupid lie. And all we had all the way through that journey was disinformation. And it came to the point where we got on the plane finally, even though it kept looking always their flights were being cancelled and ours was delayed. So it looked like we weren't going to get back to Slovakia. We got on the plane was delayed then for an hour and a half. We flew in to Postcard Airport, got off the plane, walked across the tarmac, because that's what you do in Slovakia, into arrivals. A policeman stood there and asked for my documents. So I gave him my documents. He said, no. I very politely said, no, sorry, I need your COVID test. So I gave him my COVID test. He said, thank you very much. Please go through. And that's the difference between the rabid stupidity of what we did through COVID. We created loads of little Hitlers. Well, get rid of the little Hitlers and put human beings back in places like airports.
Well, yes, NCP have come in for a lot of criticism over the years. I tell you what, 3 days in an NCP car park and it was only £50. Don't know how you manage that, mate. It's £50.
Because I got a discount from the hotel. The discount, yeah. So I know what you mean. Yeah, but we still wanted 65.
Well, that's it. Well, listen, as it's Christmas time, we're going to finish up on a cheerful note. Or are we?
Oh, I don't
Charities. Know. Oh, they come out 12 months a year now, but at Christmas, every advert is a charity. Now, we've mentioned this in the past, but it's worth repeating. Beware. When you see a donkey walking down, and the poor donkey's in a bit of a state, but they want 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds to rescue this donkey, believe it or not, one of the adverts said, so that the donkey will realise that we care. Yeah, okay. But these donkeys are always in slow-mo. And the children in Africa are always in slow-mo. Mm. Do not give to slow-mo charities, I say all the time, because they are not telling the truth. Children don't walk in slow-mo. Donkeys certainly don't walk in slow-mo or turn their heads in slow-mo. And before you give to one of these worthy charities, think about the name charity. It means giving to a good cause. Now, when the UNESCO bloke, head, CEO, president is paid between $500,000 and $1 million, look at your favourite charity and think where your money is actually going. They are so professional, Leigh, and they pay all we have to pay to get the best people at the top to collect more money. Rubbish. Charity begins at home with us. Let's help our neighbours when we see them in dire straits. Let's help the kids, etc. And link with all this, and we're thinking of charities now, and link with mainstream media. You're not going to like this, mate. I read an article this morning about dear old Marcus Rashford, who we covered last week, from The Guardian. Well, he has been christened by The Guardian the second Mother Teresa. He can do no wrong. He is a saint. Yet we know, and I'm sure Marcus is, as a Manchester United supporter, I'll go 100% with him. It's not him, but he's been used, Leigh, because a PR outfit called Rock Nation has got hold of him. And when you see these great eulogies coming out of Marcus's mouth, that's not him. He's a 23 going on 24-year-old footballer. They don't behave or talk that way. Now, he may have a good heart because of his upbringing to help the kids out, but he's being used. And what's behind it is, again, I'm afraid, the social warrior syndrome. Let's get hold of somebody and put them up there that everybody admires. Let's get some money in. The Beckhams, of course, started it very professionally, and now Marcus has been got hold of. And for The Guardian to come up with all this wonderful, glittery tripe, because it suits their agenda of social manipulation, shall we say, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Marcus, right. Like I say, I know him. I've spent quite a lot of time with him when he was over here training. And he's a good bloke. He really is a good bloke, a nice bloke, friendly bloke, funny, charming, witty. All the superlatives you can add to his name are there. That's what he is. And he, I think it was his personal decision to stand up and be counted in the way that he has. Now, obviously, the advertising agencies, I have done exactly the same things this agency's done. I've extolled the virtues of clients with the ultimate intention of doing something good for the world. And it's a world of media now. The media is everywhere. It's not, you don't stand on the hustings, you don't go in bars and do a little bit of a speech to 10 people and do it from the heart. You do it on media, and the best way to do it on media is have media experts who can say what it is that you want to say in a way that makes it easier for you to say it. Now, my company is called Rock and Roll Media, and it's a very simple title. The reason is because I get people into local newspapers, which are the small theatres, and then every now and again we make a break into the national news on television, which are the large international theatres. So it's, long live the virtue of honest, straightforward PR to help somebody do something good for the world. The internet's there. The internet's there. You've got all the people, the inarticulacy of one from the heart on the internet, where people can't spell, can't say anything, and don't even know what they're talking about. Grow up. Not you, on the internet.
I know. Listen, it's a fine line. You can easily get over the other side of this fine line.
Oh, yeah.
And abuse it. And many PR people have in the past. So don't necessarily believe what you see on the dear old telly. It might be. I mean, there was the programme, of course, this week on Marcus Rashford on BBC television. And his virtues were being extolled. And he has lots of virtues. But the spokesman was this lady, all the time giving it the PR bit. Well, I want to see the heart and soul of the person behind it, not of the lady.
Well, let's counterpoint that, and not in an argumentative way. Just We watched a 3-part series or a 4-part series on Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper. Now, back in the day, I took the phone call at the Sun from the police saying that they caught Peter Sutcliffe and we needed to get across to Leeds. Now, Peter Sutcliffe, despicable animal of a human being, barely could be described as a human being. This was who the programme was about. And yet, the whole of the interviews really, or not all of them, but most of them, were to do with the police, who failed for years and years to capture them. And they were giving excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse for where their behaviour. George Oldfield was there in hindsight, you know, in old footage. He went, I knew him, I'd interviewed him a lot. He went to hell and back over this. But people do tend to talk about that kind of positive thing. Well, I agree with you 100%. Let's just be honest. Good PR is honest PR. It hones things down, it polishes things. It makes things focused. The problem is with most people, whether they're a famous footballer or a celebrity, in reality, they aren't trained until they get to be very famous in the art of polishing what they want to say to the media. That's why you have script writers in television. It's why you have script writers on news. It's why everything. So you need media people who will polish your message. And and if the idiots of the BBC did nothing but do PR people saying how wonderful everything was, that's BBC's failing.
Well, interesting. Listen, I've said it's the end, but 2 quick things. First of all, going back to charities, do give to decent charities, please. Like the Sally Ann. Their chief, he's honcho, is paid £12,000 a year.
Is that true?
Oh, yes.
That's brilliant. Well done.
That is brilliant. That is charity. So if you want to
he should get more than that. He should get more than that.
Well,
it's not brilliant that he's underpaid, but it's
he gets free soups as well at the soup kitchen. So there's always an extra. And we can't leave the Christmas edition without mentioning my best friend, Nicola, the Wicked Witch of the North. Oh, has she done it this week? Somebody's snapped her at her funeral without a mask, talking in close confines inside to her mates. Oh dear. Well, it was only a matter of time before she did a Cummings. But will she get what a Cummings got, even though it was delayed a few months? No, she's going to be staying there in all her glory.
Do you know what? There is one difference between her and Cummings in this. She didn't try and hide it. She didn't lie about it. She didn't try and excuse it. She said, I'm really sorry, it was a complete mistake on my side. Where Cummings did everything. I was just having a practice drive because I'd gone blind. I needed to know if I could see.
Well, he didn't have the paparazzi following him around with a camera. That's the only difference, Leigh.
Well, yeah, because he wasn't at a public event, was he? He was spotted by other people. Yeah, what's the difference between somebody being reported to the media and the press by your next door neighbour? Are they actually more despicable than the paparazzi because they thought, oh, I'll make a few quid out of this? What do the paparazzi do? Follow you around, make a few quid out of it. Yeah, watch your next door neighbour, man. Watch your next door neighbour because they're not the paparazzi and they're just as bad.
Well, there you are. And finally, we're going to say Happy Christmas. Now, note that because all the PR people are saying, oh, don't say that. Say Happy Holidays. Rubbish. It's wrong.
Rubbish.
It's Happy Christmas. And when somebody says Happy Holidays, please say very nicely, well, Happy Christmas to you.
Yeah, I'll say, yes, I'm going to Spain in July. Yeah.
Right, that's it. Have a good one, mate.
I'd speak to you very soon.